can hold your comment to within 3 minutes or less. So I will open the floor now for public comment. Seeing that there's no public comment tonight, I will now move on to the next item, and that is to review and approve the agenda. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda? Mr. Ward?
Mr. Mayor, I want to bring your attention, we updated the agenda this afternoon. So under number 8, the chamber events has been removed. It will be on there next month. Also, there was an addition under number 15, Force Main Project, low bidder and budget amendment approval, as well as verbiage under the closed session under number 16.
I make a motion to approve the revised agenda.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand saying aye. Thank you. We have an agenda. Okay, our next item on the agenda will be to approve a series of special and regular meeting minutes. I want to add one thing before we do this. I know Josh and Michael and Gibby and our town attorney, Nick, they've been looking at the idea of using an AI software to generate a more complete, specific minutes and be also a time and cost saver to our staff. We'll be experimenting with this in future meetings to where the AI system will be able to actually take the recording of these proceedings, put it into a specific narrative form. What Gibby or someone would have to do is to go back and make sure that there are no incorrect interpretations that AI has made. But we're looking at that in the future, to having minutes that are more detailed and specific, and at the same time, we think it will be a cost saver for our process and for our staff. So just wanted to point that out before we start now with the approval of the December 11th special meeting minutes. Do we have any changes or corrections?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. Next would be the approval of the December 11th regular meeting minutes. Any corrections, additions, or clarifications?
I move they be approved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. The next one would be the approval of the November 20th closed session minutes. Commissioner Tate, I believe you will not be able to respond and vote on those, but do we have any, we'll move for motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then finally, the approval of the December 11th closed session meeting minutes.
We approve.
Okay.
Second, sorry.
All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Didn't realize it was
Okay.
my turn.
And
I will be part of that.
he was,
Rotate.
Commissioner Tate was not a part of that. Okay. The next item will be reports, and it starts with the mayor's report. I've got two items. Our Congressman, Chuck Edwards, has had a very all-encompassing field system with his representatives. We've worked with Lake Silva for several years. Lake took another job, and Reagan Bunch is the new field representative. I met with her this week just as to she introduced herself, and we had a discussion of our needs and so forth. One of the things that I did, I gave her another copy of that Sky Bridge project at Dry Falls. And we'd met with Lake and other representatives of the congressman and the Forest Service. I still think that's an important project to be done. I was reading this week in one of these articles on promoting travel and tourism in Western Carolina, and it was about the hidden beautiful waterfall, and it was featuring dry falls. It is very popular. It's being pressed with that limited parking, and I know that this is an expensive federal project, and it would involve the state resources also. But I just emphasize to Reagan that if anything the congressman can do to get that funding secured, it would be very, important. We also are always looking for grants, but, the grant stream seems to flow from the state, even with, when they get federal funds, they administer these grants that we've been trying to acquire. And then also, I'll be on the 26th attending the Southwestern Regional Planning Commission meeting and the Transportation Advisory Committee at Southwestern Community College. So that's all I have. I will now ask any commissioner if they'd like to give us an update or any report.
I just have one quick thing, just talking about the playground, just so everybody is aware, we've been working with the selected, at this point, the RFQ preferred contractor, Compan. We've been meeting with them, talking with them, and also wanted to let us know, it doesn't mean you can't send money in, but our original budget was $1.6 million to raise through county, town, and private donations. And we're at just a little bit over $1.66 million. So we are working towards a GMP contract that we hope, if all goes well, to bring back.
Don't let them know that.
Yep. We don't want to keep that money. So, but as a GMP number, we hope to have a contract back here for the February meeting. That's certainly the hope, and hopefully that'll happen here in the very near future. So,
Okay, well, thank you, Commissioner, for all your work and Brian Steeler's work on moving this forward. I know it's been a challenge to bring the numbers together.
yeah, and this isn't really a report, but it's a question or a comment for the future. I would really like, and today's meeting was not, it's not based on today's meeting, but I would really like to revisit the entire work session format. I just think if you think about it, we have 12 hours a year and we've already had one, we had one canceled already because of a closed session. So we have 11 hours all year to discuss topics. And I'd really like to go back to I personally would like to see us go back to more of a liaison and committee format to where we can work out at least some recommendations and details without kind of getting in the weeds. Because again, that's just my thought. I just think it's a little bit difficult to move things forward. So
I actually have the same thought.
I do too.
Yeah.
I've always thought we should.
So I think we need to
Committees
revisit that.
got more done, so.
The mayor will entertain proposals on how to achieve that goal. Okay.
Rarely do you say, let's do it the way we did 10 years ago, but I think this is the case where we do that. So,
Okay. All right. Any other commissioners' updates? Hearing none, I'll now ask the town manager, Josh Ward, to provide his report.
Well, yesterday we got good news from Partef. We got a verbal approval for the MOU for the Boys and Girls Club building. So hopefully have the final document signed and to us next week. So then we can hand that over to the Boys and Girls Club of the Plateau and have them start their fundraiser. So that's exciting news. It's taken a long time for that, but Partef has been very, very good to work with as well. So an update on the Mirror Lake dredging. Michael Hansen with McGill has been working on a plan to dispose of the dredging spoil. They've been looking at the nearest area to deposit that material. And they've been looking down at the old landfill down Rich Gap, which would require them to reopen that landfill and dispose of the material down there. So been working for a few months with the state of North Carolina, as well as the county, Warren Cave, the county manager. They have come up with a plan that I think is a win-win. It improves the area where the yard debris goes down at Rich Gap. It gives them basically a new road in, and it enlarges the yard And then it will allow us to have a short haul to Rich Gap rather than to haul it to Macon County landfill in Franklin.
So it's the old landfill, not the newest old landfill that was covered over that you can still
Right.
see from. So it's the one that you used to have to go in a
Yeah, it's
different way.
It's like a grassed area now.
Well, they're both grassed areas now, but it's the one that you don't go in the same entrance that you go in now.
Now to get up there to it, to dispose of the yard debris, yes, you go through the actual transfer station and you go up above
Right.
to dump your yard debris.
Right.
And then you would dump it right there is where it would start. So they're actually proposing a new road into that yard debris site and widening that out and then depositing there. And I'm not sure where the old and the old.
That's where it
old
is.
and
It's
old
beyond
old
where the
something.
debris.
We used to turn it way before.
Right, you used to turn in way before, but it's in the same place. Now you come in this way, the yard debris here, and it's just over the hill.
Sounds
there.
like where it's at. There'll be a new road that has to be constructed again and that pad up top will enlarge. So it's actually a win for the county and a win for us. So at this point, they had put an MOU together to go to this board and the county board. So I've handed it over to Nick and Evan. And I talked to Nick this week or last week about it. And he feels like it needs to be an interlocal agreement between the two governments, which I agree with. So I think they're working on that now to get back to us. So we hopefully have something back to you guys in February so you guys can look over it and approve that. Then it'll have to go down to the county board to have their approval
And
as
it's,
well.
and that's part of the grant money?
Yes, it
Okay.
will.
So-
So right now,
So the
McGill,
county gets something out of this, the improved road to the yard
Yes.
debris.
yes, they do.
And we save money in the long run. by
Yeah, yeah, I'm
having to
just
go
saying.
25 miles.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of money up front to,
Because
to
that's
do the
Forest Service
improvements
land.
there, but in the long run, it'll be a short haul so we can haul more,
Faster.
material out.
Mhm.
So, just an update on that. So McGill is basically on hold until the decision is made on that. Also, Jeff mentioned the playground. We have been meeting, Jeff, Brian Steeler, and I've been meeting with Compan. That's been going well. The fourth electric circuit into town up Franklin Road, the second bid opening will be January 27th. We got some good news. Looks like we only had one bid the first time. Looks like we've had three companies in town that are interested this time in bidding on it. So we're excited about that. Hopefully get that started this spring. And also, Town Hall will be closed Monday, January 19th for Martin Luther King Day.
Okay. Josh, do you have any update on the stump fire outside of town? Is that pretty much under control
According
now?
to the chief, I think it's under control.
Okay.
I think Roger Lee, the owner of the stump pile, is actually putting rock and dirt and debris over it. And so I
Okay.
think the 5 inches of rain, 4 or 5 inches of rain we had last weekend had to have helped the situation. But I know that it's been contained within the stump hole itself.
Okay. Very good. All right. Let us now move to the consent agenda. And Josh, we removed the chamber events off. Would you kind of explain the reason? We're not trying to stop it, but we're looking at some consistency issues on permitting. Is that not
Well,
correct?
there's two things. Gideon has to do resolutions that the board has to approve on those, which are not in there. And number two is, we talked to Nick today. If you remember back to discussions we had earlier about uses of town facilities and the application for those events each time. So he recommended that each one of these events, even though they're community events, being the fireworks, the Christmas parade, Halloween, the concerts on Saturday, that they all have a separate application for those events. So we're going to work toward that. And I think Nick actually had some comments on maybe some additions to that permit.
Actually, I had some of that comment too, because they're not all the same,
Correct.
and it's hard to kind of be able to say, okay, you have to do this for this one and that for that one, because it's all under one permit.
Mhm. Okay. And we have a related issue. If you recall, we had a very lively discussion about allowing alcohol consumption on the 4th of July at the park. We delayed making a decision on that in that, possibly the chamber would be applying and requesting alcohol in the park on the 4th of July. So we'll need to address that very early rather than waiting for the last minute, in my opinion. But, okay. Any other questions, concerns about the consent agenda before I call the question?
Yes. The budget meeting schedule, that Tuesday, March 10th, I know the location moved on this agenda. But sorry to be the naysayer again on this one, but that happens to be I meet every other month. And for those of you who may not know, I'm the chairman of the Recreation Commission for Macon County. And that is our every other month meeting day at 8:30 in the morning in Franklin. I think that day for me still works if we go more of a 10:30 to 4:30, or we go to the next day, potentially. I'm just mentioning it, but we're actually going to be looking at most likely bid contracts for the new pickleball facility in the county. So I don't want to miss that meeting, is my point. So
Okay.
if we can change that one day in that schedule.
I would recommend going to Wednesday, the 11th, and I think, Lester, I think,
I looked on my calendar and I can't see anything. I'll check for sure.
so that would put us back in this facility, which would be better anyway.
Okay.
11th then.
Do we have a consensus that everybody's available and
That sounds
agreeable?
good for me.
All right, we'll do that. Very good.
All right, well then I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with that adjustment to the budget meeting schedule for the workshop or for the retreat.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the Duke Energy Contract Amendment. We have with us tonight Lewis Davis of UTEC, and we also have a representative of Duke, and that would be Richard Knight. And I'd like for them to come forward and share with us where we are on these amendments and how to proceed.
Good evening. Thanks for having us up. I'm Lewis Davis with
Would you
UTEC.
pull the microphone or I'll get closer?
That make
to
it any better?
Yeah, that's good.
Again, thanks for having us up, Richard and I. As you know, Duke is looking to have a merger between Duke Energy Carolinas and Duke Energy Progress. And so they put together an implementation agreement, which we have signed, the town has signed. And now the next step would be changes to the contract, which I think you guys have a copy of the contract, changes in the contract.
Thank you.
And we have reviewed them. UTEC has reviewed them. We don't see any major issues at all. And they provided the discount to help facilitate this, and it's significant. And that's essentially my comments on the contract itself.
And you're our expert representative, so we depend on you to
Well,
analyze it and tell us
Yes.
whether it's good or bad.
I've done over $6 billion worth of contracts. So I feel very comfortable with what we're looking at.
Okay. Why don't we let Richard explain we've had the complexity of this process. Go ahead.
It isn't, the process itself is a bit complex, but I
Pull
do
it
want to
closer.
make just
Pull
one
the microphone close.
the process itself is a bit complex. We're regulated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, so we have to follow a fairly prescriptive set of rules for that. Before we go too far down that road, Lewis characterized it.
I think they're still having.
Yeah, I'm
difficulty
sorry. You
hearing
get
you.
a little
It's
bit
not
closer
far
to it.
enough.
They can't hear you back here. Sorry.
I do want to make one correction to what Lewis said. He characterized, there is an amount that's going to appear on the, pending the merger being effective. There's an amount on the bill. It's not necessarily a discount. There's a structure where we're sharing the savings of the merger between all the customers on the system, including Highlands. And there's a reorganization amount is also what it's referred to in the contract. It's really to keep Highlands whole, what they would have paid DEC prior to the merger for the remaining term of the contract, which is the 3 years, 27, 28, and 29. For that period of time, what they would have paid DEC on a forecasted basis versus what they would pay under the new merged utility. And of course, all that's forecasted. The numbers are fixed. But back to the process is that we have already submitted, and you probably saw it in the newspaper, at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, a 203 filing was what it's called, Section 203 of the compliance rules. That's a application for merger. That's all it is. And FERC is expected to rule next month on that, and it's really a yes or no question. We think we would have gotten a deficiency order if there's something deficiency in our application. The process after that is that we have to file a 205 filing, which is how we're going to merge, which includes all of the retail commission orders that are expected to come in August and all of the wholesale customer contracts that show what happens to a customer when the merger is effective. And that's what this proposed amendment contains, is those items. So it includes the reorganization amount, as it's referred to, and then some language around that, some clarifications with some environmental things that are a little bit different between the two companies. And then really the difference is because we're going to combine two operating companies that have never been combined, we're going to have two balance sheets of assets moved to one instead of one balance sheet. And there's some accounting exceptions that are redlined in the contract that are items that, because DEC, the company that currently serves Highlands, will be the surviving entity, we have to map some assets that aren't carved out or specially recognized that were approved by the state commission and the FERC for the DEP company over into the rate structure at DEC. So that's the remaining items there. And then after we make that filing, at some point between probably April and 1/1 of 27, we hope to get a merger order from the FERC that says we can merge effective 1/1/27. And then Highlands contract would remain in place the current term is 20 through 27, the first year of the merger, 28 and 29.
Okay. All right.
And there's a reorganization amount for each of those 3 years.
I want to just ask Nick, do you have any comments or anything about the contract or how we proceed with this review and approval?
Yeah, I would recommend, I know I received it just a couple hours ago. I don't know, Josh, if the board members did, but I would recommend that we take a moment to read it. It's a 45-page contract amendment. And so I think we need to look at it. And I'm sure it does what Richard and Lewis said, and we'll look at it and we can do a motion to approve at the next meeting.
Okay.
So we would be approving that prior to your actual merger or prior to even the FERC approval, right?
Well, there's two pieces of the approval. There's the application to merge,
Yeah.
which is the 203 filing. We expect
Which
an
he
order on
says
that
is
very
a yes or
shortly.
no, and
That's
that's,
either,
yeah.
that's the check boxes, whether, it's good for the public good and all that stuff. The next filing is how we're going to merge. So this contract would be part of the how we are going to merge package. So we show the FERC what we actually changed in the contract, how the customer is being managed from an economic standpoint, and point out the items that are changed in the contract, because they like to see those things and they review them themselves. And then if they like all of the changes we made, they would approve the merger.
Okay, so that's why we need to approve this
Yeah,
changes in the
your part-
contract prior to the
Your
merger.
contract
is
is
part
part
of the
of
merger.
how we're going to merge, because we have to make changes to it.
Okay, but
And I
it
did
doesn't-
see, yeah, Commissioner Patterson, I did see that in the contract amendments, they do reference the fact that there will be a merger and that these contract terms amendments are a result of that pending merger.
Okay,
So
I just didn't put the cart before the horse, and where is the horse and where's the cart? So,
we will review this with final action at the next board meeting with
And
hopefully approval.
that's okay with your timeline?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, very good. We appreciate y'all taking the time to join us this week, tonight in this cold weather. So thank you very much.
It's cold.
Okay, the next item, number 10, is nonprofit emergency support plan. And Leslie Manning is here to do a presentation about this. I will say that Commissioner Patterson and I have been meeting with the nonprofit community since actually the Hurricane Helene disaster. And this is just a presentation of how the different groups would like to respond if we have, God forbid, another major emergency that would require all the resources in town. Leslie, come on up, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me to come and represent this group. And thank you to Commissioner Patterson, who was so faithful in coming to our meetings. Commissioner Steeler did at different times too, Commissioner Weller. So thank you all for the support. Not long after the storm took place, several nonprofit leaders and myself could sense how many needs were going on in the community and surrounding counties, of course, like we all could. And then also there was all this energy from people in our town who wanted to help. And so we decided to try to pull together town leadership, clergy, nonprofit leaders, and just start to have regular meetings, conversations, so we could start to identify what are the needs that are out there and how can we work together so that we're not all delivering bottled water, or we're not all delivering, propane, if you remember in those early days after the storm. And Rotary leadership was huge in that first responders came and met with us and gave us feedback. It was really kind of a beautiful thing to watch the community come together in that way. And so we just kept meeting once a month, really until things started to smooth out a little bit, right? And we felt like, okay, needs were being met. Everybody kind of knew their lane a little bit, what they were doing. Now we are going to just continue to meet quarterly as any sort of Highlands nonprofit leadership, invite town leadership always, of course, anyone else in the community that would like to be a part of that. The newspapers were great about covering these meetings, which I think helped inform the community. And so, of course, they would be welcome too. And that will now sort of shift more to kind of how Macon County has had an unmet needs kind of committee that meets regularly, checks in what's going on, how can we help. So we'll do that in Highlands. But as we think about, hopefully, like Mayor Pat said, we don't encounter another disaster, but let's say we do, or even just a significant winter storm, the nonprofit community wanted to make sure that we were ready to be helpful to the town. And so while the town is dealing with utilities and Wi-Fi and all the things that you all have to respond to, how can the nonprofit leaders, churches, et cetera, help fill in the gaps? And so one of the things that we would like to propose to you all, and again, this is not, we hope there's no emergency around the corner, knock on all the things. But assuming that there's not a significant need coming up, this would really just be for you all to think about with us if this building could be the community hub if and when there is an emergency. And so we would work with Lester, of course, the recreation department. This could become a place where volunteers could go if they want to help, where we could have supplies, anything that is just sort of outside of the basic needs that the town's going to be helping to meet. We would organize people and supplies here. And with new generator and Wi-Fi, we felt like this was a good building that we could use. Rotary leadership for the most part, knows how to use this building, get in and out of it, all of that kind of thing. So we would love for this to sort of be the designated community hub when and if there is an emergency. And we would need to work with the town and with Lester on what sort of triggers that, how do we define an emergency and when exactly would we use this space? But I think we can work that out with you all. And then the Chamber of Commerce has offered to create and has started a draft of a landing page for us on their website that would list where to go for hot meals, shelter, food, clothing items. And so we would use that as a way to communicate. The town could link to that. And then the Highlander would manage sort of social media updates so that we weren't, having a lot of misinformation out there. If there is an emergency, they would sort of help with that part, communicate with us. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything to that or if that's sort of a helpful summary. But really just, I think the main sort of ask is just kind of, can we use this building as the community hub? And can we work with the recreation department to kind of figure out when and how that would be triggered and when we would use this space?
Leslie, I would respond
Yeah.
on behalf of the town. And we're always trying to improve. And the Helene event, I think, kind of went beyond what we thought would ever happen.
Sure.
And I think we were caught flat-footed in trying to have a system to coordinate these services, mostly, nonprofit, the faith community support services. And we can't do it by ourselves with the town. So I think this is a wonderful partnership and we should, of course, support it and pursue it.
Could we be involved in this? Because I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we're spending the night up here during Halloween, so I think it'd be important for us to be in some kind of thought when there's emergency.
Sure.
And so I would like some of us to be a part of that.
That'd be great.
That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
And hopefully there's a lot of time put in and a lot of effort and it never happens.
Exactly.
But that'd be
It's
the
like
goal.
insurance, you never want to use it.
Yeah. And this last storm, Helene, the one thing that really caught everybody 100% off guard was, no internet. No, well, some people had internet, but internet, phone especially. I mean, those are so attached to everybody that when it shut down.
Well, it's the dissemination of information and where to go
Correct.
to get it. And I think that's
Correct.
one of the main things that we identified.
Yep.
But,
Correct.
and we don't want everybody to think that they're rioting at town hall when they're just using our Wi-Fi out there. So,
Right. Right.
so just a place, and I think this is a perfect place. We put in the generator. We did put in that generator, didn't we?
Unless they got it running this thing, you might not get it.
But it's there. So that this is the place that everybody can come get Wi-Fi and can come get
Agree.
cell service and that kind of thing. But at the same time has a place for all the volunteers, as Leslie says, to come and say, I want to help, but who do I go to ask what needs to be
What do you
done?
need
And
help with?
that's,
Yeah.
that coordination is what we're trying to get at.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And hopefully we could get, like Chief Holland was saying, we can get this information together and ahead of time. So if it does look like there's going to be a significant weather event, we can let people know, if you don't have self-service, you can come here. We'll be sort of ready to go with that as opposed to trying to play catch up afterwards, which I know is what the town and the county is trying to do as well.
And I don't know if we need anything official or just a consensus, but I'm 100% in support of this being the building. So.
Yeah.
I don't know what we need. You all have to tell me.
I was looking more to the sides.
Well, we could have a motion now to designate this building as the site for these operations.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Okay, so we've got that out of the way.
Well, great.
I think y'all are working on more of a plan
Mhm.
specific thing.
Mhm.
Once you have that complete, why don't you come back to us, whether it's next month or how long it takes, to where we can kind of, again, codify and ratify that
Okay.
too and make it formal.
Okay.
But,
can do that.
but from now on, if there is an emergency for the nonprofits and faith community, this building would be the hub and headquarters.
Okay.
And so that goes out on our app.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what we got the app for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we can work with Joanna sent me the draft of the link of what, what will be on there. So it'll list all those different groups and where to go for what. So we can show that when we come back and present to you all too.
Okay,
Perfect.
very
Okay.
good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, our next item on the agenda, item 11, Bill Futrell rezoning request, Dillard Road. And Michael Mathis, would you please do the presentation?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So Bill Futrell submitted a petition for rezoning on December 19th, 2025. The subject property is located on Dillard Road. The subject property is zoned R1 residential and is located in the Water Supply Watershed 3, balance of the watershed. Mr. Futrell is requesting a rezoning from R1 residential to B3 commercial. The property is 1.21 acres, according to section 4.3.1A of the Unified Development Ordinance. This ordinance, including the zoning map, may be amended from time to time by the Board of Commissioners, but no amendment shall become effective unless the Board of Commissioners first submits proposed amendments to the Planning Board for recommendation and comment. The staff recommendation tonight is to send the rezoning request to the Planning Board for review and recommendation.
Okay, and I might add, Mr. Futrell is here tonight. If we have any questions. So,
Right.
Yeah, I don't have any problem sending it to the planning board. I mean, that's the thing, and I don't necessarily have any problems, but I do think B3 is a huge potential, and you are backed up to residential. And I know in some instances we put conditional things on it. I'm talking about lights in a neighborhood. I'm talking about signage and parking and landscaping and all that kind of stuff. And so I would just suggest that the planning board looks at those kind of things too, because it's not just what is going there, but what its potential to go there.
Yes.
Okay. And since the potential in B3 is pretty wide open, I think and it is surrounded, well, Dusty's on one side, but it is a residential area. And Dusty's is grandfathered in from before the 90s when we actually had the zones out there. So I think we need to be careful that we don't just open it up to a B3. I have no problem with it being a business. I just think we need to be careful about what it is. Is it conducive to being next door to a neighbor, to a residence?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to refer to the planning board.
Second.
okay. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Okay, our next items in number 12, Highlands TDC appointment. I've had a conversation with Commissioner Tate, and he is willing and would like to volunteer to serve in that capacity. And I believe with his experience of working with county officials and so forth, he would be an excellent representative for the town.
Thank you.
Could you just give me a brief synopsis of the outline of the TDC, TDA, who reports to who and how it
I would
works?
like to do that. I feel like there's a tremendous amount of confusion and misinformation about exactly what the TDC does. I'll give a full report on it, but I'm going to give just a little bit from 30,000 feet of what it is. But the TDC was created to be the eyes and the ears of the occupancy tax money for the county commissioners. They don't really have any teeth. They don't really have any, can't say or do this, do that. They really don't have any enforcement other than going back to the county commissioners and saying, hey, we see a problem here with the chamber and how they're spending their money. And I think that's one of the confusing parts, but I would love to be a part of that and do this. And then what I would like to do moving forward is when we have our commissioner reports, I'll give a report as we have our TDC meetings, of monies. I'll have all the background information of exactly what we're seeing. But every member of the TDC goes through everything from the checkbook to, you name it. If it has to do with occupancy tax money, they have the authority to go look at it through the chamber.
So you look at what the TDA does.
No, there's not a TDA up here. The TDA is in Franklin.
Well, okay, so you look at what the chamber does, or Visit Highlands does,
Correct.
because that's the books that gets the occupancy tax money, not the
That's-
chambers.
That's correct. Yeah, there's two piles of chambers money. There's those from the members where they get, like guys are used to. Tay Landscaping was a member of the chamber. That's different money than what the occupancy tax was. The county kind of oversees that occupancy tax and collects it. And that TDC was formed to just help be the eyes and the ears and make sure that that's being spent.
So there are
appropriately, so.
separate books for the occupancy tax from the chamber.
I'll give a full report on it. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I can only find
Yeah.
one 990 because they only have one
Yeah.
EIN number.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to say,
Well, that's interesting. I haven't thought about it in that format, but yeah, that's an interesting comment.
yeah,
But the TDC is the overwatch for the entire,
Correct, except they really can't oversee the chamber's money,
It was,
what they get from there.
that's
which
right.
is their
But that's
own-
chamber's money.
That's the chamber's.
That's
money.
chamber's money. And
That's
that's
correct.
when we're part of
Yeah.
the problem is that commingling under one 990, we can't really tell what's going on and who's spending what, where and when. And we don't know who makes the decisions and we don't know if there are minutes to those meetings or anything else that are out there. So those are the kind of things that,
I'll help, hopefully I can help disseminate some of that information moving forward.
so, and so if they had a question as to what from Visit Highlands, if they could spend money on something, does it go to the TDC? Does it go to the county commissioners or who does it go to?
It could go to any of them in reality.
Okay,
So, and the I guess you do know the TDC is that there's like a large occupancy appointment, somebody that represents one of the large occupancy, a small occupancy, a restaurant, at large, and the county appoints those, the county commissioners appoint those positions of who sits on that. But I'm honestly, I don't even know who's sitting on it right now, but
so we would send your name down to the county.
correct.
Okay.
so Franklin has one, Highlands has one, and then the occupancy,
Correct.
people who
But
are actually,
Franklin doesn't have a seat here in Highlands. They have their own TDC and overseeing the occupancy tax for Franklin and Anahera.
oh, I see. What,
There's two.
but, so
But
they
there's
don't get
also
any,
a
so they
TDA
don't
in
get any of
Franklin.
the 3% of the county? They only get their own 3%?
They only get their own 3%.
Oh.
Highlands only gets the Highlands Fire District, 3%.
But then they have a TDA where they generate.
They have a
additional-
separate tax in Franklin.
Yeah.
Right.
Municipality, and the TDA oversees it.
Mhm.
I'll try and not, it just, yeah, I'll
I
try
need
and pull all that
I need a
together
flow
for us.
chart or something.
I know, exactly.
but
It's
what we
really
make a
confusing.
recommendation is our representative to the Highlands TDC.
Yeah.
Right,
A board member.
a board member
Correct,
to
yeah,
that
correct.
TDC, which is Highlands exclusively.
Well, I thought you said it was oversight of the county.
No,
the county.
it's their oversight for the county.
Oh, yeah.
So they can go back to the they answer to the county. The TDC does. I say him, I mean, he's not on there yet, but
So there's one for Highlands and that's the one that's going back to the county. The county doesn't have one of their own. Is that what you're saying?
there's one for the Franklin area.
Right?
There's
And
two
there-
TDCs.
There's
Yeah.
two TDCs in the county,
Okay.
but they both are I'll call it the watchdog for the county commissioners. If you want to use that term.
Okay, so they're watchdogs, but they don't make the decisions.
Correct.
Ah,
That's right.
Okay.
We have no authority other than
report back.
report
I
back.
still need a chart.
I'll try and work on that moving forward.
So I make a
If y'all
motion.
put me in there.
Yeah. Do we need a motion to nominate or just a motion to approve the nomination? Did you nominate? Is that feasible? I'm asking the question.
If he recommends it, that's a nomination.
Yeah.
There you go. I make a
Mr.
motion.
Mayor, yeah, you can just make a motion to approve the appointment. of the
I'm
commission.
making the motion to approve an appointment of Jim Tate to the TDC, the Highlands TDC.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please signify by raise your hand. Thank you. All right. I would also add one other thing, and we had the workshop last month about the changing the room tax legislation, which isn't just anything that we can do, but we have to work with all the stakeholders, especially the county. I've talked with Jeff and Amy, and they would like to kind of be the working group to review that and see how that will play out and go forward.
So that would be something that we would do with the county and the Franklin
And I think
or,
we were talking about bringing everybody into the process. You and Jeff would be our, committee and representatives, and then we'd have to see how this all works out with other groups too.
So we need to basically come up with who those other groups are and who,
Yeah.
and ask them for representatives as
Yeah.
well. I mean.
Yeah.
We can, Amy, we can hash, then discuss that,
Okay.
email ideas or whatever.
I seem to not have, my brain is not doing any workflows in here anymore.
I'll send a flow chart.
Yeah.
All right, and then, item 13, Macon County EDC appointment. Let me just say, I was looking at the last setup, and Commissioner Stigler was both the TDC appointment and the EDC appointment. I don't know how we want to deal with that. In a way, I think that because it would be interfacing with the county, just having the person who's our TDC representative also be on the EDC, if they were willing, might be a very streamlined way of doing this. But Commissioner Tate?
I'm happy to do it if that's what everybody else wants, but I served on the EDC before I was a county commissioner, and then I was representative on the county commission for, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with the EDC and how it works. So it might be good if somebody else would like to do it, that's great. If not, I'm happy to do it to be our representative, but if anybody has some info.
I'd be willing to do it if we want to keep.
It's a great board.
More separation of duties, so to speak, but that's up to everybody else. I don't care.
Like
You're
the
already on
auditor
one
said.
committee with the county.
Yeah, but that one's ending this year. And after 14 years, I'm ending this year.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
That's fine. If you don't, I mean, if you nominate Jeff, that's fine with
I
me,
wouldn't.
or Jim, either
I'll
one.
second. I'm just,
Just
again, I'm
as
happy to
long as
do
it's
it.
not
Yeah. If that was a nomination, I'll second.
I would be willing to do it if anybody is, unless somebody else wants to. I'm not going to stand in your way, but.
That's good. I'll nominate Jeff.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please signify by raise your hand saying aye. Okay, very good.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. Technically, the motion was to nominate and we need a motion to appoint. Yeah.
Point,
Okay. We
make a motion to appoint.
Point. All right, clarification. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Very good. Thank you. Our next item, number 14, is the Town Board Commissioner appointment procedure. I know we asked our town attorney to kind of look at what are the options for doing this appointment. He has shared a memo with everyone, I assume, that outlines what are the options and how we can go about doing this. I want to make several points though. First of all, there's no immediate emergency to do this. We don't have to do a quick decision. I hope our goals would be that it's an open process, fair and thorough. And then also, I'll ask Nick to describe these, but it seems to me there are two procedural options that we could follow. So everybody's okay with it. I'll ask Nick to come in and just kind of give us an overview of what we can do.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. The memo kind of outlines this, but I'll briefly summarize the memo and then let you all ask any questions. But essentially, the statute and the town's charter don't really give a ton of details of what you have to do or when you have to do it. What we do know is this. First of all, the appointment of the interim commissioner for the vacant position will be until the December organizational meeting of 2027. That we know. The other thing that we know for sure is that there's one qualification, and that is that it has to be an eligible voter in the town limits, nobody in the ETJ or in the county. So that we know is a definite as well. In terms of the process, what I've tried to do is summarize what is the typical two methods that jurisdictions across North Carolina employ. And the School of Government has written about this, and I read those articles and incorporated that into the memo. But essentially, there is what you just did, which is a motion and then voting for a majority of the remaining members of the Board of Commissioners to appoint somebody. That's the first method. The second method is the nomination and ballot, and that is where you compile a list of candidates, you have a nomination process, and then you can do a ballot either in the open or a secret ballot. And so the School of Government recommends the nomination and ballot method. That doesn't mean that's what you all have to do. You can choose whatever method works best for you. But if you do go with the nomination and ballot method, I tried to lay out that it is advised that we develop some ground rules for that process, because you can get into some situations where, you know, you're not sure how to move on from certain candidates, or when the mayor can break a tie, which I tried to explain that in the memo as well. So I can go into more detail, you know, if you have questions about that. But, you know, I just importantly wanted to make sure you got to the very end of the memo that talks about the fact that we cannot go into closed session to discuss this, and everything's public records. It's all out in the open. Open meeting law specifically calls out this process as something that needs to be out in the open. So with that, happy to answer any questions. But I think it's a pretty wide open process.
And let me just express my preference. I think the nomination ballot procedure that's preferred by the School of Government is the way we should go. It would be, to me, you would call for people to file an application, kind of like filing for election. They would fill out an application. There again, we might have a series of questions that we'd want them to answer, or even they could come here in public and we could do a open discussion with each person that's interested in the in being appointed to the board, and then we would have a public vote. And in a way, we become the voters, since we can't have an election, but it could still be an open process where people in the community would know what we're doing, who wants the position, and so forth. The devil's in the details, though, and that would be, as Nick has said, creating the procedure and ground rules for conducting such a process.
Just a quick question. Thank you for putting that report together. That was very beneficial. I'm asking this question just for everybody's education. Tell us about timeline or lack of timeline.
Yes, so the only time there's a deadline is with the county. So county commissioner vacancies have a 60-day deadline, where if they don't appoint within 60 days of the vacancy, then the clerk of court does it. But that does not apply to municipalities like the town. So there is no town. And, you know, I think there are some jurisdictions that just wait it out to the next election and just go without a commissioner that long. You know, I don't think that's advisable. I think you all should do it with whatever quickness you want to do it. Yeah, there's no statutory or charter-based deadlines.
Yeah, I mean, if there were 6 or 8 months left in a term, I could see riding it out, but not 2 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think 2 years, we need that extra voice.
agreed.
But I do think you doing it where people who are interested in the job, not that it's a job, but it's a calling. You know, give us a bit of a resume, because we
Right.
may not know everybody.
Well, I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I think we need to come up with some sort of a truly, like, and I hate to say application, because it's whatever the term would be, with also some background information. And I don't want to ask political questions. I want to ask who they are and what they are. I
Right.
mean, that's, you know.
But initially, but then I would also like to know how they view Highlands,
No, yeah,
because
agreed.
that's kind of what, you
Agreed.
know, we won't have the benefit of the newspaper asking the questions of the candidates that then the voters get to look at. So we
Right.
need to look at something like that.
I
We need
agree.
to ask those questions.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
and I would say this, if it's public knowledge who's the nominees, the newspapers might ask them questions
Well, that's
That
true,
wouldn't
but
necessarily have a bearing on us, but, this becomes a very public
it's
process.
it's a public position.
Yeah.
Agree completely. And I mean, now that because I have the whole time we've been talking about this, even when I first heard about Buzz's decision, I thought it was 60 days, but it's just county. So today when we got this, or the other day when we got this, that was a surprise to me, and it's a pleasant surprise. So we can do some due diligence.
Right.
And if it's not till March that this happens, great. Because what I would love to have a month of applications, so to speak.
Right.
And then find out who's interested and give those names out publicly. And I'm not trying to put the burden on you all, but it's also news in January, February, and March in this town. So to ask the questions they would ask, like when I ran,
Right.
ask the questions,
Right.
ask the questions.
So that the public knows who they
Correct.
are.
No, I think that is great. And if we make the decision in March or do the process in March, I think that's great. So I would encourage that.
And constituents could give the commissioners feedback about, what they think about the candidates too.
Yeah, agree. But I kind of like the idea of, and like I said, I'm not putting a little bit of pressure on you, but I think that would be great for them to do that so that everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And not just us, but
Mhm.
everybody. I mean, it's no different than any of us had to do. So.
So we put out a very general, plain Jane press release. We're looking for applicants I'm asking town commissioners, is that kind of what we're saying?
And we'd have to have kind of an application form. We have, for example, now, if you want to be on the planning board or zoning board, we do have a form there where we ask them to give us a resume of their experiences and background and stuff. We could use a similar form, if
So
not
very
that
similar.
form,
Okay.
and then.
Or just ask them to give you a resume.
Yeah, resume.
Because
Yeah.
that way they don't have to fill out a form that's really not specific to the commissioners. And they would get an opportunity to tell us what they think it's important to know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And if it's just like trying to get a job, that's one
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
But tell us about your civic
Yeah,
past
exactly.
and your community past and everything
Right.
else.
So this is something the mayor, I presume, and Josh will put together and put out.
Hmm?
I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's,
Why don't you tell people to do this?
Why don't you just tell them to come drop off your resume if you're
Yeah.
interested?
Drop off your resume at town hall if you're interested. Address it to,
Yeah,
yeah,
that simplifies it.
prior to
To,
the.
oh, yeah, exactly. Put a deadline.
Well,
please.
prior.
Excuse
prior
me,
to
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend an application because you want to make sure that somebody's signing and attesting to being an eligible voter in the town limits,
Okay.
that they're filling out certain information and requirements that we'd want to put on the application form. So I think just dropping off a resume wouldn't be as advisable.
I
Okay.
think we need to put an application together and have Nick review it to make sure we're asking the right questions from a legal standpoint. And then maybe
Once we get that.
everybody put their thoughts in on 2 or 3 questions to ask.
Well, I
No.
think from a newspaper standpoint, you can say that this is going to be coming and available. So at least people, but only, I mean, in all honesty, if you give them 2 weeks, whatever, anybody that's really interested, that's plenty of time.
Mhm.
You want to say,
No.
like an application for the town hall section.
Well,
Yeah, we'll have that
I-
application.
once it's ready.
I don't think you can,
Before February.
I think you could possibly, just as a brainstorming here, bring your resume and fill out an application.
Right. Well, I agree with that.
And that way, we've already done
Right.
a little bit of the background due diligence.
Correct.
Okay, and then we go to the process of meeting them, talking about getting their views on this, that, and the other, or maybe the newspapers do that so that we actually know the people,
Right.
other than just what they want us to
Right.
know.
And I don't know if it's the right term, but it's very similar that when you do sign up to run for office, you sign almost like an affidavit that
It
says,
says-
I do live here. This is
Yeah.
my address. I attest that I'm a resident. This is my primary residence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Yeah, and not only that, but there's also, like, for example, I have form applications from other vacancy of other cities, like nearby, like in Weaverville and other places where they ask you to do a checkbox that says, I attest that I understand the requirements, that that this is a public record and that this information that I'm providing is a public record, things like that. So to fully make sure everybody's on the same page, I would recommend that.
Okay, so if you would share that with Josh, those
Yep.
possible applications. I will say this, being kind of flippant, I think it's important to have an application because I remember when somebody from Silva tried to apply for our planning board and we found out real quick where they
Yeah.
lived and said,
Yeah.
you know, it can't happen.
Yeah, so I think that works. And I'd like to do, I mean, I realize the wheels have to get it done, but get it done and then once it's ready, you have 2 weeks, whatever the time period is, so that the newspapers then have time to actually ask the questions and get it out there. Because who knows how many are going to sign up?
Well, I mean, if it turns out that it's April, I'm not
You know,
big deal
I'm
about that either.
not in disagreement.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to kind of,
By this period of time, but I mean, to make our decision, to make our decision.
Right, but to tell people that they have so much time.
Yes.
yes,
Right.
agree.
Yes.
You don't have like 5 months.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
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 no.
no, right.
We're
Right.
talking weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
let us know.
no, definitely keep, well, they can keep you on the loop. So is that something though that between, that Nick
Josh
and
and Nick
you all,
and
you can put it together?
Sure.
I did not hear anything that speaker was
No,
saying. Okay.
I don't mean anything bad, but it's in line with what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It
I
wasn't
thought you
any
were
different.
asking about that specifically. Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah, no.
specifically was just that once it is ready, give a set time period that has to be turned back in by. Give a deadline.
Yes.
That's all,
Yes.
really.
That is advisable for sure.
Okay.
But you also have to realize we have one day a week a paper comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's why, I mean, if it takes a
If you
month
miss
to-
one.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand that. I understand that. And like you said, if it's April, who cares?
Yeah.
We will have Nick share his forms that he's familiar with Josh. We'll review them, get them to everyone, and then when it's ready,
Yeah.
send it to the paper.
If we only have one bid, do we have to rebid? I mean, if we only get one application, should we extend the deadline?
That's something we have.
Well, that's
to
something it's 100% at our discretion.
Okay,
We're just requesting that they're back by this day.
okay.
So.
If it's my spouse, yes.
I'm sure we'll have more than one application.
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to the next item then?
Sure.
All right. Item number 15, the Force Main Project low bidder and budget amendment approval. It's good news. Josh Ward.
We do have good news on this one. If you remember a few years ago, we had a sewer line break on Franklin Road. We had a environmental problem there for a day, and we had a company come in and help us repair that, and then it blew out again. They repaired it again, and it's held ever since. But the worry is that the deterioration in that force main had occurred in a number of places around these air release valves. So our thought was initially that this project would be upwards of $1.4 million, and we're going to have to borrow the money for it. So even after the bid opening, once we ever got to that point, then we would have to go through a lending agency and LGC, and we knew that was going to take some time. So Brian Tripp with Ardura, which is hard to remember because it's been WK Dixon for 100 years. They were actually doing the study on it, put together the documents, and bid this out. We had an opening January 8th. We had 3 bids. Luckily, we had 3 bids where we didn't have to bid it again. We had a low bid from Dan Grady Company, LLC, out of Silva for $257,280, which was significantly less than what we were originally 2 years ago thinking it was going to be. There's a lot of variables there with pump arounds and things. Lamar had some items repaired or modified down at the old sewer plant so that it could be used as a storage facility as they are having to replace some of these areas of pipe and airflow devices. So I think that helped with some of that. So now we do not have to We do not have to go out to a lending agency. We do not have to go to the LGC. We're going to fund this in-house after Rebecca and I looked at it. If you'll look at Adura's document there, on top of the 257,280, they wanted to add $38,500 in contingency to cover adverse conditions. And so the budget amendment in front of you is the combined total. I would like to get that approved tonight in order for these folks to go ahead and get started during the off season, because as we know, Highway 64, where some of this work has to be done, is very busy. We'd like to do that in this winter and spring. And if the budget amendment looks a little bit confusing, going back to what I said earlier, the 1.4 is what we had figured in the budget. And so actually Rebecca had that in the capital projects fund. So we were able to go back and pull that out, and it's very confusing, but.
Okay, that's what I said. I have no idea what this means.
But the recommendation is to approve the low bid and approve the budget amendment for the total of the 200, let's see, whatever the total was on that.
And this covers
360.
the whole thing that we found in the survey, all the places in the survey?
Yes,
So the whole
yes.
length?
It is.
Wow. Why did it get, we
Who messed up?
estimated so
Well,
far?
again, it was depending on what we were going to have to do for pump around. And a lot of people were concerned about how they were going to pump the sewage around while they worked on those areas. And so with Lamar, doing the modifications there at the sewer plant, that helped a lot. So that's going to give like 8 hours of storage.
Huh?
Before that, you didn't have that storage. So there was going to have to be a lot of pump around. And really, we were concerned that we wouldn't have 3 bidders on it just because of that. So I think that's what helped to reduce it.
And what are we putting back? What material are we putting it back in?
To be honest with you, I did not ask. Some kind of composite material is
So it's
what they
not
were
the
going to go.
ductile iron
That's
anymore?
not going to be ductile iron. No.
Good.
And that's for those vulnerable
And
parts.
each of the air release
the air-
valves will be replaced as well.
So, because it's that air interface with the ductile iron that, the metal
Correct.
that is
So-
creating the electrolysis that's
Yeah.
eating through our whatever.
Right. So right there at that liquid air intersection is where the pipe just deteriorated. So some of the air release valves had to be replaced in some areas, I think, and not actually pieces of the pipe.
Oh, that'll be nice.
And Josh, we have the money in our budget already or funds, so we don't have to borrow on this.
Correct.
So you need a motion to approve the bid and or the budget amendment, or separately?
Do it all in one.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Okay. Our next item, number 15, and that is closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-18.11A3 to consult with the town attorney and consider and give instructions to him concerning the handling of a claim. Do I have a motion for us to go into closed session?
So moved.
All right,
Or
We-
second.
in a second. Okay. We are now in closed session.